Are you ready to perform at your highest potential? Welcome to the Performance Matters podcast from GP Strategies, your talent transformation partner. In each episode, we'll interview industry experts and explore best practices and innovative insights to help your organization improve performance.
Why does this happen?
Well, human beings, to use the fancy academic.
Use the I like that. It's very Southern. I like
term. Yeah, it's
academic.
It's knowledge that gets on your skin. It's academic. It's just too fast, can I? Anyway, the academic term that we're talking about here is absorptive capacity. So this is
okay.
Each human being has a finite absorptive capacity. What does that mean? You can only learn an amount. Absorptive capacity is the amount of new information a person can learn at once. The amount that you can learn varies depending upon your personal motivation.
Okay.
And
what do you mean by that? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, you can actually force yourself to learn. You can force yourself to go against your instincts, as I was talking about earlier. There's actually a great analogy that's in a book called Switch by the Heath brothers, and they talk about the rider and the elephant. And what the rider and the elephant means is this: the elephant is your ego, and your ego wants to just charge off in the same direction that it's always going. Your ego kind of likes the status quo. It likes to keep things comfortable, moving in the same direction. Now you have the ability, your id has the ability to change the direction of that elephant. But if you think about the rider's like a tiny little jockey on the head of the elephant. Right. So in order for that jockey to be able to move that elephant into a different direction, it takes a substantial amount of effort to turn the elephant, and it takes a substantial amount of effort to keep that elephant moving in the direction that you want it to go. Now, eventually, that elephant's going to settle down and move in the direction that you like. Same thing happened to me, right? When I was driving in the UK, I had to force myself to not follow my instincts. I had to force myself to pay attention to the correct street signs, to stay on the correct side of the road when I was passing by somebody. Things of that nature. I had to actively think about them and apply them. So I had my rider moving my elephant over in the right direction. And eventually found, after about 4 or 5 days, a week or so, I settled into it. The elephant was moving in the new direction. And the interesting thing to me is I could then recognize people who were tourists who were driving cars because they were doing some of the same things that I was previously.
So what you're describing, let me say this, what you were describing there is you had high personal motivation because you needed to survive, right? But let's shift that to someone. And so by nature, you were very motivated. You could force your elephant to start to rapidly adapt and recognize and build new skills. But we also know that many of our learners aren't quite in such a crisis mode from personal motivation there. So what's typically something we need to be aware of when it comes to absorptive capacity for someone who's not quite as motivated as you were when you were over in Ireland?
Well, and this is where I think simplicity in learning comes in handy, because the analogy that I like to use here is absorptive capacity. Your brain can only take on so much new information at a time. Mm-hmm. And a good analogy for that is like pouring a gallon of water through a funnel. You have a funnel. You can pour the gallon of water in, and as long as you keep it calm and steady, the water is going to go into the funnel and it's going to drain into whatever you're pouring it into. However, after you tip it up and start pouring it more quickly than the funnel can handle, water starts spilling over the side. Now, think of that as information, right? The faster you pour it in, the more information is going to be lost. So actually, what you could be doing while you're trying to pour that information of the water in too quickly, people actually learn less than they would than if slow and steady were the rule of the day, let's say.
That is massive. That's a great way to break that down. I almost feel like you're, what was it, Bill Nye the Science Guy from back in the day? You just really broke down absorptive capacity in a way that's meaningful.
The Performance Matters podcast is brought to you by GP Strategies. Together, we can create a world where business excellence makes possibilities achievable. You can subscribe to the show anywhere you get podcasts or listen on our website at gpstrategies.com.